Good afternoon. I'm Brandon Dawkins for the Trussville Tribune. You know, we've told you lately that we were going to begin to do a series of interviews with mayoral candidates for the cities in our area. We've got municipal elections coming up in August in Trussville, Pinson, and Clay, and we want to interview these people that have decided to toss their hat in the ring. Today we've got Buddy Choat with us. Buddy Choat is a councilman here in Trussville, and he has decided to run for Trussville mayor. Buddy, welcome today.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Thanks for taking the time to do this. Let's start with remind our viewers how long you've been on the city council and what made you decide to go for the mayor position this time.
I'm in the last year of my second term, 8 years. I came on back in 2008, and I had no intention of running at that time. Miss Jane Bailey, who was on the council at the time, I was serving on the park board. She approached me about running. As most people would respond, it's like, why me? But then I thought about it, and there's a time in everybody's life where they like to take responsibility and do something a little different. That's why I chose to run. So I am in my second term, and which will be up in November of this year.
So why the decision to go for mayor?
Yeah, well, that's kind of all involved in 8 years that I've been here. I've seen a lot of things happen over 8 years that I think has prepared me for this. When I came on board, as you know, the economy went into a depression type mode and a recession, as they call it, and the city worked through that. Our city council and our mayor worked together to make sure financially that the city was still operating as it should. We tightened down the hatches, and we secured enough money to operate on, and we had hiring freezes going on and different things in place that we had to do, and we survived that. And then I've seen the turn where the economy has turned a little bit. Our revenues are up slightly. What I like about this particular council and the mayor is that we have been able to project a budget and live within that budget. And we look at revenues from the previous year, and we really project kind of a flatline budget every year with a little bit of unknown in between. So we're financially sound in the city, and that makes me want to run for mayor because I do see the possibility of things changing. I see Trussville continuing to grow. It is a place where people have a choice to live here. They're not forced to live in Trussville.
That's right.
People choose to live here as we do, and people have choices, and we have great schools for them to have a choice. We have great parks. We have a greenways along the Cahaba River that will be ready hopefully soon. We have a great library. They can choose to stay here instead of going elsewhere. And our public safety really is something I want to brag about a little bit. I think one thing that we need to be well aware of is our community is a safe place to live in spite of the times that we live in. And kudos to our police department and our fire department and the way they respond to things that happen in our community. So you put all that together, and I just felt like the timing was right. I felt like after 8 years, if I was going to do this, now was the time. And I feel like I've been prepared. I've tried to be as involved as I could be with the different boards and committees, and sat back and saw how city government worked, and I understand it. I'm sure there's a learning curve for everyone if elected, but I felt like Trussville was ready to take the next step, and I want to be the guy to lead us down that step.
You know, we talked a little bit off camera about what we were going to discuss here today, but it's also just hit me that those years on city council, that's a unique experience. Sure. And a lot of people don't realize what they're getting into when they're elected. And as a reporter, I've covered various city councils, and I know what an interesting experience that is. But let's also talk a little bit about your career experience that could set you up and put you in a position to serve as mayor. You've been with the same company for a long time. So
I have.
For people who don't know that about you, tell us a little bit about that.
Well, and part of the decision making was based on the fact that I've been with the company for 33 years, going on 34 years this summer. And they've been mighty good to me and my family. And I had to talk to them, and I had to make sure that I had their blessing. And they were very supportive of my decision, and I really appreciated that. And then the second part of that is I had to go and convince my wife of 42 years that everything was fine, and she's fully committed as well. So my experience, and I've been in sales and I've been in management most of those 33 years, And I've seen our company grow, and I've seen the owners that I work for and how they manage their company, and I've seen how the city operates, and I hope to learn a little bit from both as I move forward.
If elected, what are the things that you want to focus on?
Well, there are many, and I'm just going to give you a little bit. First and foremost, as we just talked about, is we have to continue to operate financially in a financially sound way. And by that I mean we have to make sure that we don't spend more than we take in. There's always exceptions. Secondly, I think, and I mentioned earlier, our number one our departments that get the most revenues or spending in our budget are our police and fire. And we continue to support public safety and the services they provide. But beyond that, we have an opportunity. I mentioned choices earlier. A lot of the growth that we're experiencing in Trussville right now is because of things I just mentioned. But down the road, as we talked the other day down at our development by the Tutwiler subdivision,
Right.
We have businesses now that are trying to come to Trussville and are wanting to come to Trussville. So growth in the right direction is real important to me. And I've been involved with downtown redevelopment. I've been involved with a committee called Grow Trussville. Back when the recession hit, we formed this little committee. We had no authority to offer anybody anything, but we went out in the community, in the city, in the county, and the state. And as we made contact with businesses, we just kept talking about Trussville and what a great location it would be. So we've promoted the city that way. So my intention is to continue to do that and continue to try to improve the great facilities and services that we have here now.
That kind of growth that you're speaking of, so often it begins in the heart of a city, in the downtown area. And so let's talk about the Downtown Redevelopment Board.
Sure.
They have been operating for some time now, and you and I know some of the things that are going on that are progress. But if you're just a resident living here, you may not see, if you don't know
Right.
the background, just looking around, you may not see those changes or know what's coming. So what can we share with people about what's happening there and how that can expand in the future? You know,
Sure.
we've got this huge gas line project going on now that's preparing foundation, you know,
That's
that's a part of the foundation. But what do people have to look forward to?
Well, what they have to look forward to is a plan now that is in place, and pieces of the puzzle, as we talked about earlier, are starting to fall in place. I brought with me, I don't know if you've seen this, but it's a brochure that our Downtown Redevelopment Authority put together a few years ago. It's called Dream Trussville. And if you open this up and you look at the cover, this is what we give to prospective developers or people that want to look at our city. It's a plan. It's a master plan for
And can
downtown.
any resident come by and
Yeah,
get one of
those are available through the Chamber of Commerce,
Okay.
at City Hall, through our downtown redevelopment.
Because it is a really great informational piece on
Yeah.
what you want downtown to look like.
Yeah, and this was
ultimately.
just a vision. This is not, this is not anything that we can say it's definitely going to look like this. But I'll use an example. Several years ago, maybe 3 years ago now, we had a well-known bakery restaurant interested in coming to Trussville, and they were looking at another piece of property, and I'm sure they wouldn't mind me mentioning, but Edgar's Bakery, who we all know and would love to have in Trussville.
That's right. Everybody
They came
loves a
out,
good strawberry cake.
they came to Trussville. They were looking, and we were at City Hall discussing a location that didn't work out. And I asked Terry Smith and his wife Dottie, I said, hold on just a minute, let me get something. I went and got this brochure, and when I brought it back and I told them what it was and she opened it up, she pointed to our corner downtown and she said, this is where we want to be. So that kind of planted a seed with me to say, well, okay, there is an interest in coming to Trussville. And so we've moved forward. We got through a very difficult time in trying to lease the shopping center that we fought so hard to keep the thrift store out, which would have damaged our plans to develop downtown, in our opinion. And in the same way, we've put together a redevelopment authority that has worked very hard with the different property owners downtown, being sensitive to respect that they are business people in the community, and our plans have to be working with those people instead of against them. And if somebody wants to stay in Trussville, which we hope they all will, if they need relocating or some space outside of the downtown area, we're willing to work with them on that. We just recently completed purchasing a piece of property that was in bankruptcy as part of our plan. It was one piece of the puzzle. There's two other pieces downtown, and we've identified Quad 1, as we talk about, which is the corner downtown where
Like three-eared rabbit?
Yes, three-eared rabbit.
Framed R.
That's right.
Straw hat.
That's right. And so we've identified that quad as being quad 1. You know, there's 4 quads downtown. So we have a plan. We have a professional architect on board. Dave Reese is with us. Dave has given us great insight as to what that area could look like. We want it to be, as our downtown overlay district says, we want it to be a place that is comfortable, that's walkable, that is friendly, that you have shopping and dining experience. And also, we just passed last night at City Council, we passed an ordinance that is really kind of the Bible, so to speak, of what downtown can be and what it can be developed, that includes housing if someone actually wanted to live downtown. So all that is in place, and I know you mentioned the water and the sewer lines that are being replaced right now. All of that is part of the plan to redevelopment downtown. As you know, the Braden's Corner, as we call it, we have plans to improve that as far as taking that building down and putting in a right turn lane, which we think is going to be a tremendous help to the traffic flow through downtown.
Since you're on the downtown redevelopment board, when can people expect to see some, I'm going to say, spiffing up changes of quadrant 1, for example?
Again, you know, it's a process that we're going through. Our architect has already put some plans, and I think your paper actually put something in the paper about that. And we have property owners that have attended our meeting, have been very receptive to possibly working with us on that. One of the pieces of property that we bought, the Sticks and Stuff property, we have taken that down. We will be putting it on the market soon. Hopefully somebody will be able to control what is there, the type of business. And we think that everything is starting to slowly fall into place. We still got a few things to do, but I think people will start to see that the redevelopment authority and the city and the council have worked very hard to do it right and do it in the right way, and not jump out there and take on something that we're not able to do.
Well, buddy, I appreciate you coming here today and sharing your thoughts with us. There's several months of campaigning
a lot of
ahead
campaigning.
For you.
So thank you.
We will be talking to you over the next several months as we lead into the end of the summer.
Yeah.
And we wish you the best of luck.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me today.
And with for the Trussville Tribune, I'm Brandon Dawkins, and again, you can look forward to many interviews with mayoral candidates right here, and we'll bring them to you each week.